We're delighted to have Heather Matthews with us today. Heather, it's always a delight to see you. Usually you're playing somebody else. Today you get to play yourself here. But we've been wanting to learn more about you, I have to say, because the first time, I know it wasn't the first time I saw you, because you used to work on the Goldenrod, I understand.
That's correct.
Wow. And you're going to bring it back someday, right?
I hope so. I think it's too late now, though.
Well, maybe we can get somebody to remake it or something, do it over again. But you did Victor Victoria with Family Musical Theater.
Yes.
And I was quite taken with that young lady in that show, and then with her ability to perform all the things that she did. And then the next Family Musical Theater show that I saw was Sweeney Todd. And the program said that Heather Matthews was playing Mrs. Lovett. And I thought, wait, is that the same person I saw in Victor Victoria? And it was, wasn't it?
It's amazing what a little wig and makeup can do.
Well, you even seem to change your size and shape in doing it. I mean, you're a terrific actor.
Why, thank you.
And also then, I don't know if Evita was the next one, but I remember because we were at the award show for Arts for Life, where congratulations, you got not just one, but 2 awards.
Thank you.
The Cho Award, and that was for...
That was for Evita.
Evita,
yeah.
And then for Mary Poppins, you got for the outstanding leading lady.
Yes.
But I was because you did a number from Evita in that award show, and I was watching because it was when she was young Evita, and you come across as so girlish in that number, as you should. I mean, she's excited. There's a world out there. So where did you learn to act?
I think what I've always done, and I had this coming to light moment probably about 10 years ago, where I used to look up to other Broadway performers and study everything that they did and listen to the soundtracks and mimic the exact way they were singing it and try to look just like them. And when I stopped doing that and just decided to be myself and to research the characters that I'm playing and just try to be somewhat original, it just completely changed how I performed, and I don't ever want to be the same character on stage.
But you do seem to really find a way of getting the character physically. I don't know what you're doing exactly. Do you have some dance training? I
think I do have a little bit of dance training. In college, I took a few ballet classes, but really, I think that I'd really do a lot of research on the types of characters that I'm playing, and I've had some experience under my belt, and I think the older I get, the more life experiences that I have that I can relate to, and that really helps when I'm on stage, playing an older, mature, lonely woman role, or playing a young ingenue coming to the city.
Yeah.
Or where you have to go from one extreme to the other, as you did in Evita.
Correct.
Where I was just amazed by the depth of interpretation you brought that in, and the sheer stamina you had to play that part.
Well, I do have a confession to make. When I was 16 years old, I dreamt of playing that role, and I would sing through the entire show in my bedroom, in my car. That was the role that I always wanted. And vocally, I thought, okay, I've got that down. And then to add the choreography to it and the costumes, it was the biggest challenge I've ever had on stage. And I really appreciate your compliments. It means a lot to me, because that was my dream.
Yes, I think the only person who got more of a workout than you did was your dresser for that show.
She was amazing.
And 2 of your changes you actually did on stage,
yes.
I remember.
Yes, it was amazing. The whole cast really pulled together to make my dream come true for me. So, and I said in my speech when I accepted my award that before I got cast in Evita at FMT, in my head, it was a one-woman show. And I did all the costume changes, and these these people that were in the show with me on stage and behind the scenes, they blew me away every night. I couldn't have done it without them.
Yeah, it really was a very fine ensemble show. I remember we were saying that the ensemble was such a varied group that it looked more like the people of Argentina as a whole than other ensembles I've seen, and yet they divided up the dancing so that they had a kind of a core group of dancers who did the really hard things, but then the choreography was still of the same sort for the whole group, so that it just all seemed of a piece.
I agree, and I think the Ivory Theater is the perfect setting for that musical, to jam a bunch of people on stage and make it look like, you know, you're actually in the crowd. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I remember one of the productions of Evita at the Muni where those crowd scenes were kind of sparse.
I've seen those.
Huge stage, yeah. But how did you come to feel about Evita herself as you worked on that? Or did you have a reaction to her, or is she simply really a fictional character?
No, I without getting too political,
yeah.
I spoke to a woman who's actually just visited Argentina before I did the show, and she said, it's funny, over there she's still really loved or she's hated. Oh. And I think that I really loved playing the character for just the power, the girl power, you know, and right. But at the same time, a lot of the things that she stood for were very controversial, and acquiring her riches and things like that. It's, you know, kind of, I personally love the character, but as far as my politics go, I'm going to say no comment.
Or your morality, perhaps?
Yes.
I mean, she kind of slept her way to the top,
yes.
didn't she? Yeah. So, but that could be fun to play, I would think.
It was really fun to play. It was challenging, and it was exciting, and it was different every night. And I wish I could have had another year with that character.
Really?
2 weeks is not enough.
Well, maybe somebody will do it again.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know.
Now, I can think of two people who are more different than Evita and Mary Poppins, although both of them are very much in control. But yeah. The one interesting thing about your Mary is that it struck me that, you know, even when you were exerting your control, you were doing it in a very firm but likable way. You were never, you know, I never had a sense that you were someone who was going over the edge of being unpleasant.
Well, thank you. I did watch the movie Mary Poppins after I got cast, and I thought, I love Julie Andrews, but I didn't want to copy what she was doing. So I watched that once, I listened to the soundtrack once, and then I put it away. And what girl doesn't dream of being a Disney heroine? And it was so fun to be able to do that. And I'm a soprano first and foremost, and so it was kind of took me back to my original musical roots doing that, because I haven't done any soprano roles since being back in St. Louis.
Really?
And yeah, I think the older I get, the meatier my characters get, and the more they belt. So it was nice to get to, you know, sing some high C's.
Yeah. How that show has some technical tricks in it as it goes along. How was that to work with?
That was insane. And Diane Miller, she did the set for that, and she was in the theater day and night making the magic happen. And it floored me when it came to life. It was like, that was the last little thing that we needed to make that show come to life. And you know, sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't, and the show just went on.
Well, that show got quite a few awards itself, including for the director, Mary McCrae, and the choreographer, Kim Click. And one of the things that was so amazing about that is you had these huge numbers of people, all of whom were just doing exactly the right thing. I mean, how just getting that number of people on stage was hard, but for them to be working so purposefully was just amazing.
I think Kim Click is probably one of the best choreographers I've worked with professionally and amateurly. She knows how to take a crowd and give them purpose.
Yeah.
And she does an amazing job, and I would be happy to do every show for the rest of my life with her as the choreographer. She was awesome. I don't know anybody else who could wrangle that many people, let alone children.
Yeah, the kids.
It was really amazing.
It is amazing.
Well, and Mary McCrate seems to like to work with crowds. I mean, she did the King and I, didn't she?
And the Fiddler on the Roof.
Yeah,
3 shows in a row at that with Christ Memorial Players, with huge casts that were just so beautifully organized that it was just a pleasure to watch.
Well, it was a pleasure to be in the show with that company as well.
Yeah.
They were really a great company to work with.
Well, it is such a joyful show in many ways. Now, I'm trying to remember, how did they do the flying in that one? I've seen so many productions of that. I'm trying to remember what you all did in that one.
We had a track on the upper level.
Yes.
And other than that, it was just kind of hold the umbrella up, blackout, and things like that.
That was very smart, that track. I remember. I was thinking that was the show that had that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because some of the shows I've seen where they don't really have good flying facilities, but they try to do it, and that's not too good. And I didn't think at the Muni, I don't know if you saw it, but flying across the audience was...
I did not see that.
Well, all right. I mean...
I think they do a really good job with working with what they have. And I think that a lot of community theaters, when you try to be something you're not, then you set yourself up for failure. And why not just do the best with what you have? And I think that it can make some special moments.
In fact, the show meant more to me there than it had in previous times, because there was more emphasis on just getting the story across rather than doing all the tricks. So it moved me more than plays where there was some fancier moving.
It moved me as well. I wasn't expecting to be moved.
Yeah, and it's more theatrical in a way. You're using your imagination and appreciating the way your imagination is being stimulated by those things going on.
I love what they did with the rewrite as well for the stage version.
Oh, yeah.
So.
And now Mrs. Lovett is another really, that's a tough character. And how did you approach her?
Well, I was saying before we started that when I did Victor Victoria at Family Musical Theater, the next show that they were doing was Sweeney Todd, and I had such a good time doing Victor Victoria that I didn't want to take a break from that company. And so I thought, okay, I could audition for Joanna, but I've already played that role, and I don't see myself falling into those really wafy ingenue roles anymore. And so I thought, okay, Beggar Woman or Mrs. Lovett. And then I heard that a few people thought I was kind of nuts for saying that I would audition for that. But I came in and I feel like I gave it my own personal spin. I didn't watch any old recordings of it. I wasn't trying to appear 30 years older than I was, and I got the role, and it was really fun, and I'm excited that it's a role that I can grow with and hopefully play for the next 30 years. And I want to do the Beggar Woman as well. So.
Yeah, and quite different, not quite as big a role, but. Very interesting one. Yeah, but you, as I said, you totally fooled me when I first saw you as Mrs. Lovett. I thought, wait, that's not the same person who was that, speaking of more waif-like, I mean, the poor woman in Victor Victoria who's practically starving there, and yet she turns into this big star. Now, was that fun doing the male?
It took me out of my comfort zone a little bit because I like to be pretty and I like to wear the fancy dresses and the sparkly things, and so to be on stage in a short wig and wearing a suit and not very much makeup, it was definitely not in my comfort zone at all. And but I loved the songs and I liked the dance numbers, and it was I didn't know the show before I did it, and so yeah, it was definitely a challenge, and I think I'm happy to be a male impersonator again.
Well, you did. Yes. With Drew.
Yes, I did, and again. So, but that time I didn't have to wear the wig. We just put my hair in a little bun, but it was still, I'm a costume nut. I'm a hairdresser, and so I'm really into the wigs, and my mom sews all my costumes for me, and so we're really into the little details here and there, and so to play a man, you don't get to have as much fun with that. So, but
with all of that, yeah.
Yeah.
But was that the part you were auditioning for there at Stray Dog?
I just went into Stray Dog. I wasn't familiar with the company, and again, it was a friend of mine told me, yeah, you should go check them out. They're a nice group of people to work with, and so I didn't know the show. I actually saw the show at the Rep, I think it was about 10 years ago, and I was confused. Yeah. Because I didn't pay attention, as much as I should. If you don't pay attention to that show from the beginning, you'll get lost. And so, yeah, I just went in there and I tried to sing something that was soprano-y, but kind of a more contemporary sound. And then they had me read just a monologue. I think it was one of the chairman's monologues, just to hear the English accent. And I got the phone call a few weeks later, so I was pretty surprised by that and had a wonderful experience doing that.
But you had a really wonderful male bearing in that, which is the most important part of playing a male role is when, just the way you carry yourself, and you really carried it off.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I think it's important to not try to, it's quite obvious I'm not a man, so I just tried my best to not seem like I was overdoing it and not trying to be a caricature, even though I guess in Drood it would probably be a little bit more allowed, but to just try to be, a less frilly version of myself.
Well, back to Victoria, I always had that sense underlying as you were playing it that this character was having great fun deceiving all these people by being a man.
Yes.
And that the way you were doing that role, you were doing all the things to look very masculine, but also, yeah.
That was a good time. It was a good cast, and I enjoyed the show a lot. So.
Do you have anything coming up?
I'm doing Janet in the Rocky Horror Show at Stray Dog this fall.
Are you?
So I'm really excited about that. And that was a surprise. I kind of I wanted to do Rocky because I worked tech on it at FMT 2 years ago and was jealous that I didn't audition for it because it just seemed like so much fun. So I thought, I'm going to go in and I don't care what I get. I just want to be in the show. And they offered me Janet, so I was pretty stoked about that.
What's on your bucket list parts you would like to do?
I'd love to do Magnolia and Showboat. And I wish someone would do that. It would be a hard one to do, but I have done it, and it was I have not done that role, but I've done Showboat, and it was on a smaller scale, and it worked.
It's one of the greatest shows of all time.
Yeah.
It is. It's my favorite show of all time. Well, next to Evita.
And it's the one that's been done the most times of any show at the Muni.
Has it? Interesting.
It's great to have you here and to talk to you. And now, as I say, I'm finding out all these things. I mean, you studied music, but you're a wonderful dancer, a wonderful actor. So as we said earlier, triple threat. And
thank you.
That's what you've got to be in musicals these days, isn't it? So
keep it fresh. Always keep practicing and, working hard at what you do.
Yeah.
Well, we look forward to seeing you again on stage real soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.